All India Radio presents Morning News. Good morning. I am Meenakshi Sun and with me is Saira Mushtaba. The headlines. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to dedicate Kochi Mangaluru natural gas pipeline to the nation this morning. Government and farmers' unions decide to meet for the next round of talks on Friday. Country's COVID-19 recovery rate reaches 96.19%. In Britain, new lockdown announced by Prime Minister Boris Johnson to contain the new variant of coronavirus. And International Jury of International Film Festival of India announced with eminent filmmaker Pablo Cesar of Argentina as chairman. As the nation fights the COVID-19 pandemic, we begin with a message of precaution to stay safe and protected by following these three simple steps. Wear a face mask, maintain 2 gaz ki doori for social distancing, focus on hand and face hygiene. And now, the news. Prime Minister Narendra Modi will dedicate the Kochi-Mangaluru natural gas pipeline to the nation at 11 a.m. through video conferencing today. The Prime Minister said in a tweet that it is a landmark day in India's quest for Urja Atmanirbharta. He said this is a futuristic project that will positively impact many people. The event marks an important milestone towards the creation of One Nation, One Gas Grid. The 450-kilometre-long pipeline has been built by GAIL India Limited and will supply environment-friendly and affordable fuel in the form of piped natural gas (PNG) to households and compressed natural gas to the transportation sector. It will also supply natural gas to commercial and industrial units. The total cost of the project is about 3,000 crore rupees and its construction created over 12 lakh man-days of employment. More from our correspondent.
Laying of the pipeline was an engineering challenge as the route of the pipeline necessitated it to cross water bodies at more than 100 locations. This was done through a special technique called Horizontal Directional Drilling Method or HDD. It is a steerable trenchless method of installing underground pipe, conduit or cable in a shallow arc along a prescribed bore path by using a surface-launched drilling rig with minimal impact on the surrounding area. The pipeline has transportation capacity of 12 million metric standard cubic meters per day. It will carry natural gas from the liquefied natural gas regasification terminal at Kochi in Kerala to Mangaluru in Karnataka. Tripti Srivastav, News Desk.
The central government has held the 7th round of talks with the representatives of 41 farmers' unions at Vigyan Bhavan in New Delhi yesterday to address the issues concerning them. The meeting was attended by Union Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh Tomar, Commerce and Industry Minister Piyush Goyal, and Minister of State for Commerce and Industry Som Prakash, and representatives of various farmers' unions. At the outset of the meeting, a 2-minute silence was observed for those who had lost their lives during the agitation. Mr. Tomar said that keeping in mind the discussions during the previous meeting, the government is committed to finding solutions on farmer issues with an open mind and both sides need to take steps forward to find a solution. Talking to reporters after the meeting, Agriculture Minister Narendra Singh Tomar said that the government wanted farmer unions to discuss the 3 farm laws clause-wise, but they could not find any solution as farmer unions remain adamant on the repeal of these 3 laws. Mr. Tomar said that the government and farmer unions both decided to meet again for the next round of talks on the 8th of January for a further discussion to arrive at an amicable solution.
सरकार और यूनियन दोनों की रजामंदी के कारण ही 8 तारीख की बैठक तय हुई है। इसका मतलब किसानों का भरोसा सरकार पर है और सरकार के मन में किसानों के प्रति सम्मान और संवेदना है। मैं समझता हूँ चर्चा जिस हिसाब से चल रही है उसके आधार पर मैं कह सकता हूँ कि कुल मिलाके किसानों की मान्यता ये है कि सरकार इसका रास्ता ढूंढे और हम सब लोगों को आंदोलन समाप्त करने का अवसर दे।
The Ministry of Environment, Forest and Climate Change has said that a fine of 1 crore 59 lakh rupees has been levied as environment compensation against non-compliant construction and demolition entities. The ministry said the Commission for Air Quality Management for Delhi NCR and adjoining areas had directed the Central and State Pollution Control Board of Haryana, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh and the Delhi Pollution Control Committee to launch inspection drives in the premises related to construction and demolition activities in the NCR. The ministry said that intensive drives were conducted by these agencies from the 24th to 31st of December 2020 by constituting about 227 teams. These teams carried out surprise checks and inspections at more than 3,000 such sites, of which about 386 sites were found to be non-compliant with the various construction and demolition waste management rules. The ministry said about 325 vehicles not in conformance with guidelines related to transportation of construction and demolition materials were levied environment compensation charges of about 1.17 crore rupees. The ministry said such fortnightly drives are planned to be continued to enforce compliance of the C&D waste management rules and related guidelines to abate dust pollution, which contributes significantly to poor air quality in the region. Minister of Railways Piyush Goyal reviewed the progress of various sections under completion in Dedicated Freight Corridor or DFC on both East and West corridors yesterday. During the meeting, Mr. Goyal said that no stone should be left unturned in ensuring that the completed project is handed over to the nation by June 2022. When apprised about the challenges being faced by the railways in getting work completed ahead of schedule in certain sections, the minister said that everything would be done to bring all stakeholders on board to ensure that work is completed in sync with the June 2022 deadline. Indian Railways is making dedicated freight corridors to provide exclusive movement to fast-speed goods trains. The Prime Minister had inaugurated the 351-kilometre New Khurja-New Bhavpur section of Eastern Dedicated Freight Corridor on the 29th of December last year.
BJP President JP Nadda has said that opposition parties have started opposing the country while targeting Prime Minister Narendra Modi. He was addressing the senior office bearers, MPs, MLAs and district presidents of Gujarat BJP at Gandhinagar on his two-day state visit. The BJP president said that BJP has emerged as the single largest party in Kashmir in the first election held after the removal of Article 370. He said that it is the people's faith in the strong leadership of the party that has resulted in the victory in elections across the country. Mr. Nadda also welcomed the approval granted to 2 COVID-19 vaccines by the Central Drugs Regulator in India. He said that 2020 was a year of crisis for the whole world, but India faced the situation strongly and converted the disaster into a blessing under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi. AIR Ahmedabad correspondent reports that the BJP president was accorded a grand welcome at Gandhinagar last evening on his first visit to Gujarat. He is scheduled to represent the BJP in the inaugural session of the 3-day Samanmay Week of the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh RSS at Ursag near Gandhinagar. In our special series Year-Ender 2020, today we bring you a report on Startup India. After coming to power in 2014, Narendra Modi government has given a special focus on startups to promote innovation. Startup India campaign was first announced by Prime Minister Narendra Modi during his speech on 15th August 2015 address from the Red Fort. Mr. Modi said the government is taking several steps to promote young entrepreneurs in the country. Interacting with young startup entrepreneurs and innovators from across the country through video conferencing on the 6th of June 2018, Prime Minister highlighted that adequate capital, courage and connecting with people are required for excelling in the startup sector.
स्टार्टअप इंडिया के माध्यम से अपने कौशल को अवसर से जोड़ा, अपना स्वयं का उद्यम शुरू किया और अपने जैसे और कई युवाओं को रोजगार भी दिया। अब वो युवा हैं जो तरक्की के रास्ते पर एक कदम आगे बढ़े और जिनके बढ़ने से देश नए भारत की ओर 2 कदम आगे बढ़ा है। यह सब उस बदलते भारत की पहचान है जहां हमारा युवा रोजगार मांगने वाला नहीं, रोजगार देने वाला बन रहा है.
The action plan of this initiative focused on three areas: simplification and hand-holding, funding support and incentives, and industry-academia partnership and incubation. Our correspondent traces the journey.
With over 40,000 recognized startups, India has transformed into the third largest startup ecosystem, supplementing employability as well as enhancing self-reliance. Startup India's role has been vital in nurturing entrepreneurship beyond Tier 1 cities. With the launch of the Startup India campaign, recognized startups have now spread across 586 districts with a total of 29 states and UTs with startup policies in place, creating more than 4.2 lakh jobs. Entrepreneurs now have options to avail benefits across a range of laws, regulations, fiscal and infrastructural support. Startup India has also played a pivotal role in strengthening the key pillars identified for startup economy. 10,294 crore rupees startup fund has been launched by the Ministry of Commerce and Industry to promote availability of risk capital in the Indian economy. Startup India has facilitated procurement from startups on the government e-marketplace GEM portal. Presently, 7,438 startups have received serviced orders worth over 1,800 crore rupees on GEM portal. To further bridge the Indian startup ecosystem with the global ecosystem, engagement models with 11 countries including Korea, UK, Netherlands, Sweden, Portugal have been built. Startup India launched the Startup Yatra in 2017, which took the momentum to rural and non-metro regions, reaching the grassroots level of the states. The National Startup Awards have been conceptualized to further strengthen the Indian startup ecosystem. Atal Tinkering Labs by the Atal Innovation Mission aims to inculcate entrepreneurial skills in school students. Over 14,000 schools have been selected to set up Atal Tinkering Labs. Saubhagya Ka Air News.
You are listening to the morning news on All India Radio. A reminder of the headlines before we move on. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to dedicate Kochi Mangaluru natural gas pipeline to the nation this morning. Government and farmers' unions decide to meet for the next round of talks on Friday. Country's COVID-19 recovery rate reaches 96.19%. In Britain, new lockdown announced by Prime Minister Boris Johnson to contain the new variant of coronavirus. And International Jury for International Film Festival of India announced with eminent filmmaker Pablo Cesar of Argentina as chairman. For quick news updates round the clock, follow us on our Twitter handle at AIR News Alerts.
The country's COVID-19 recovery rate has reached 96.19% as more than 19,000 COVID patients recovered in the 24-hour period. The Health Ministry said the total number of recoveries has gone up to over 99,46,000. The actual caseload currently comprises only 2.36% of the total positive cases. Presently, the total number of active cases in the country is around 2,43,000. In the past 24 hours, 16,505 new cases were reported, taking the total number of positive cases in the country to over 1 crore 3 lakh. 214 deaths were also reported during the last 24 hours, taking the toll to 1,49,649. A total of 384 new confirmed cases of coronavirus infection were reported in Delhi during the last 24 hours, taking the total number of cases to over 6,27,000. In the same time period, 727 people recovered and 12 deaths were reported in the city, taking the toll to 10,597. Presently, the total number of active cases in the national capital is 4,689. Yesterday, over 50,000 tests were conducted.
In Bihar, 430 patients recovered in the last 24 hours, while 344 new cases were reported. So far, 2,48,640 patients have recovered from the COVID-19 infection in the state. The number of active cases is continuously declining. Currently, 4,229 patients are undergoing treatment at various hospitals. COVID-19 recovery rate has improved to 97.78% in Bihar. This is 1.59% more than the national average. Over 1 crore 87 lakh corona tests have been conducted in the state so far. Meanwhile, the state government has received over 980 equipments from the centre so far for storage of COVID-19 vaccines. Health Minister Mangal Pandey said district-wise cold chain managers are also being trained for each block. There will be 5 member teams to carry out the vaccination process, and 4,42,195 people have been registered in Bihar for the first time. The minister further said even the sites for vaccination have been selected and they will be similar to polling booths used for voting in elections. Gujarat has recorded 698 new cases of COVID-19 in the last 24 hours. According to the State Health Department, the recovery rate has further improved to 94.61%. More from our Ahmedabad correspondent.
The total number of COVID-19 cases detected so far in Gujarat has reached up to 2,47,926. Out of this, 2,34,558 patients recovered. 898 patients recovered during the last 24 hours. More than 98,58,000 tests have been carried out in the state till date. Maximum 144 new cases reported from Ahmedabad, while Surat recorded 124 new cases. At present, total active cases in the state are 9,047, out of which 60 patients are on ventilator. 3 patients died due to COVID-19 during the last 24 hours. Yogesh Pandya, AIR News, Ahmedabad.
Madhya Pradesh has registered decline in active COVID-19 cases. So far, more than 232,000 patients have recovered from COVID infection in the state. Around 25,000 tests have been carried out in the state yesterday, out of which 621 new positive cases were reported. More from our Bhopal correspondent.
Madhya Pradesh continues to report more recoveries than positive cases. 857 patients recovered yesterday. The number of new cases remained below 10 in 37 districts of the state, including 8 districts with no report of any positive case. Maximum COVID-positive case continues to register at Indore, followed by Bhopal. With 7 patients succumbing to the infection, the death toll rose to 3,648. Meanwhile, Chief Minister Shri Chauhan said that all the districts of the state are ready for vaccination. While addressing Collectors Commissioners Conference, Chief Minister said he has decided that he will not get vaccinated first. Priority groups will be vaccinated in the first stage. Pooja P. Vardhan, AIR News, Bhopal.
Karnataka reported 600 new COVID-19 positive cases during the last 24 hours. At the same time, 1,283 people were cured from the disease. Currently, 10,207 COVID patients are taking treatment in various hospitals. Among them, 196 are in ICU. 3 COVID patients lost their life and total fatalities have increased to 12,110. The state conducted 99,166 COVID sample tests during the last 24 hours. A dry run for COVID-19 vaccination is being conducted in Uttar Pradesh today. Directing to conduct COVID vaccination work as per the guidelines of the Government of India, Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath has said that the dry run across the state today should be taken earnestly as the exercise will help to administer actual vaccination smoothly and in an organized manner. More from our correspondent.
Additional Chief Secretary Health Amit Mohan Prasad said that the infection level of coronavirus in state has reached the level on which it was 6 months back. Currently, there are 12,505 active COVID patients in state, and in last 24 hours, only 714 new cases of COVID infection have surfaced. Currently, the recovery rate from COVID-19 in state is 96.45%. State government has also made all arrangements for the dry run of COVID vaccination in all districts today. The dry run will be conducted at 6 places in every district, out of which 3 will be in rural and 3 will be in urban areas. Meanwhile, Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath has directed that starting from the first phase, the COVID vaccination should be taken up in adherence to the centre's guidelines. He also directed to ensure safe storage of vaccines, maintenance of cold chain and smooth transportation. Sushil Chandra Tiwari, AIR News, Lucknow.
Bharat Biotech Chief Managing Director Dr. Krishna Ella has slammed the criticism against the Indian vaccine for COVID-19, Covaxin, and its emergency approval. Addressing a virtual press conference last evening, he said the Covaxin developed by the Bharat Biotech Limited is in no way inferior to the other vaccines developed by other countries like Pfizer. He said the efficacy data is not available right now and the third phase trial data will be revealed by February or March. Speaking about the criticism by many companies and media against the emergency approval given to Covaxin, He said the approvals have been granted on the basis of conditions set up by the Central Drug Standard Control Organization. He said all standards were maintained for the development of the vaccine. Dr. Krishna Ella further said Bharat Biotech will soon take up a trial of an inactivated vaccine on children. In Tamil Nadu, 3 more people have tested positive for the UK strain after returning from United Kingdom. According to the State Health Department, out of a total of 44 samples sent to the National Institute of Virology, results of 12 samples have been declared. 4 have tested positive, 8 samples have been tested negative for the UK variant. Results for remaining are awaited. Our Chennai correspondent reports, though the passengers have no symptoms, they have been quarantined in the government medical hospital and the health parameters are being monitored. A report.
As one of the luxury hotels in the city turned out to be a mild hotspot recently, the health department alerted all the other hotels to undertake COVID-19 tests for their staff. It turned out that 20 staff members of the luxury hotel have tested positive for COVID. 3 teams of cricket players who are scheduled to take part in the Mushtaq Ali Trophy are staying in the same hotel. The Tamil Nadu Cricket Association has said that the players were confined to their rooms and are in a biosecure environment and there was no need to alarm. Joy, AIR News, Chennai.
British Prime Minister Boris Johnson has announced a new national COVID-19 lockdown in England, instructing people to stay at home to contain a more contagious variant of the coronavirus. Non-essential shops and hospitality would have to remain closed, while primary and secondary school would close from today. The announcement came yesterday, just hours after the government hailed Britain's success in becoming the first country to begin the rolling out of the vaccine developed by Oxford University and AstraZeneca against COVID-19. Johnson said a new, more contagious variant of the coronavirus was spreading at great speed and immediate action was needed to slow it down. Scientists in South Africa have said there's a reasonable concern that the new variant of COVID-19 sweeping across the country might prove to be more resistant to current vaccines being rolled out in the UK and elsewhere. They warned that it makes the need for a global rollout of vaccines even more critical. The concern arises from the fact that the virus in the country has mutated far more than the variant in the UK, and one of those mutations might mean it can evade attack by antibodies that would normally fight the coronavirus. This is All India Radio, giving you the news. The international jury for the 51st edition of the International Film Festival of India has been announced with eminent filmmakers from across the world. Pablo Cesar of Argentina has been named as the chairman of the jury. The other jury members are Prasanna Vitanaga of Sri Lanka, Abu Bakr Shoki of Austria, Priyadarshan of India, and Rubaiyat Hussain of Bangladesh. Here's more in this report.
The chairman of the jury, Argentine filmmaker Pablo Cesar, has contributed to the African cinema by making the critically acclaimed films Equinox, The Garden of the Roses, The Garden of the Perfumes. Sri Lankan filmmaker Prasanna Vithanage is considered as one of the pioneers of the third generation of the Sri Lankan cinema. He has directed 8 feature films, including Death on a Full Moon Day, August Sun, and Flowers of the Sky. He has won many prestigious national and international awards and has also been commercially successful. Abu Bakr Shoki is an Egyptian-Austrian writer and director. His first feature film, Yomedin, was selected to participate in the 2018 Cannes Film Festival and will screen in the main competition section and compete for the Palme d'Or. Rubaiyat Hussain is a Bangladeshi film director, writer and producer. She is notable for the films Meher Jaan, Under Construction and Made in Bangladesh. Priyadarshan is an Indian filmmaker, screenwriter and producer. In a career spanning over 3 decades, he has directed more than 95 films in various Indian languages, predominantly in Malayalam and Hindi. Tanvi Khurana, News Desk.
In the first high-level bilateral engagement in the new year, External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar will be visiting Sri Lanka today. Amid the COVID pandemic and related travel restrictions in both the countries, the visit is being arranged through the air bubble. During his visit, Mr. Jaishankar is scheduled to have bilateral meetings with President Gotabaya Rajapaksa, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa, and Foreign Minister Dinesh Gunawardena. The visit will be concluded on the 7th of this month.
The United Nations Secretary-General Antonio Guterres has condemned the killing of 11 coal miners in the Balochistan province and urged Pakistan to bring perpetrators of the terrorist attack to justice. In a statement, Farhan Haq, deputy spokesperson for the Secretary-General, said Guterres trusts that Pakistan will bring perpetrators of the terrorist act to justice. 11 coal miners, all members of the minority Hazara Shia community, were kidnapped and reportedly killed in Mach town in Balochistan province on Sunday. Islamic State has claimed the responsibility for the attack. The Indian national flag was installed at the United Nations Security Council stakeout yesterday as India has started its tenure at the UN body for the 8th time as a non-permanent member. India has launched the 40th scientific expedition to Antarctica. This Indian expedition marks 4 decades of country's scientific endeavour to the southern white continent. The 40th expedition journey will be flagged off from Goa today with 43 members on board. The chartered ice-class vessel MV Vasily Golovinin will make this journey and will reach Antarctica in 30 days.
Incessant rain accompanied with hailstorm at some places has intensified the winter chill in Uttar Pradesh. Our correspondent reports that yesterday many parts of the state experienced rain along with strong winds which badly affected the sowing of wheat and other crops. Agriculture experts say that it will delay the sowing of wheat by 7 to 10 days. Hailstorm at some places also damaged the crops and potato and mustard farmers were the worst hit. Now, let us take a look at the weather forecast for today. The national capital will experience thunderstorm with rain. The temperature will vary between 13 and 18 degrees Celsius. Mumbai will have partly cloudy sky. Temperature will vary between 20 and 29 degrees Celsius. Chennai will generally have cloudy sky with moderate rain. The temperature will hover between 22 and 30 degrees Celsius. Kolkata witnessed fog and mist in the morning and will have mainly clear sky later. The city observed minimum temperature of 15 degrees Celsius and will observe a maximum of 28 degrees. Srinagar will have moderate snow. The temperature will hover between -2 degrees Celsius and 3 degrees Celsius. In Jammu, the minimum temperature was 10 degrees Celsius while the maximum will be 12 degrees Celsius. The city will have thunderstorm with rain. Leh will experience light snow. The temperature that was minimum was -13 degrees Celsius, while the maximum will be -3 degrees Celsius. Gilgit will have moderate snow. The temperature will hover between -3 degrees to 5 degrees Celsius.
And now an overview of today's newspapers. Most news dailies have promptly covered the promising news of the vaccination program for COVID-19 on their front pages today. Biggest COVID-19 vaccination program set to begin, says Prime Minister, reports The Hindu. While Hindustan Times informs India's vaccine jabs may start next week, say officials. The Pioneer adds, Covishield jab to cost government rupees 219 to 292 per shot. The concerns relating to the efficacy of Bharat Biotech's jab has also been covered extensively by newspapers. The Economic Times informs in its headline, approval based on adequate safety data, says Bharat Biotech. The Indian Express adds in its headlines, Covaxin to protect against mutants, data in a week, says Bharat Biotech. In related news, the Times of India reports, outbreak of bird flu in Himachal, Kerala and Rajasthan.
And now, before we end the bulletin, the headlines once again. Prime Minister Narendra Modi to dedicate Kochi Mangaluru natural gas pipeline to the nation this morning. Government and farmers' unions decide to meet for the next round of talks on Friday. Country's COVID-19 recovery rate reaches 96.19%. In Britain, new lockdown announced by Prime Minister Boris Johnson to contain the new variant of coronavirus. And international jury for International Film Festival of India announced with eminent filmmaker Pablo Cesar of Argentina as chairman. And with that, we end the morning news. Have a nice day.